But one tile over the seam, magically, over the seam came off. Frank from Last Time Tile Works here. I wanted to start off this video by explaining the reasoning behind the video itself. I'll start off by saying that the goal of making this video is not only to educate the contractor, but the homeowner as well, and to help people understand that you cannot use every waterproofing system for every type of tile installation. Things like sizes and the material used in the tile will greatly impact what material, what system, waterproofing system you should be using. Now, I obviously have full confidence in this waterproofing system. In no way do I want to bash GoBoard or their sealant. I think it's a successful product and it will perform flawlessly under the right circumstances. Now, I do believe there's some inherent problems, not only with the GoBoard system, but also with all the waterproofing systems that imitate that type of polyurethane sealant as their main waterproofing option in combination with the foam board. Now, as you'll see in the video, it might not be a system that you should use for smaller tile installations. And I'll show exactly the problems that I ran into it and the test we devised to investigate and to further recognize whether it's actually a problem or not. All right, so I hope you enjoy the video. I hope you gather some valuable information out of it. And remember, this is just one test. These are my results. I encourage everyone to perform their own tests. And if you're an installer and you do this for a living, you should be performing tests on situations where you might feel you lack the confidence to know it's going to be 100% success. All right. So I encourage everybody to perform the test, but here was mine. I hope you enjoy it. And if you could give us a like and subscribe, that'll greatly help us out. Remember that we do these videos for free and it takes a tremendous amount of effort to not only record while we're working, to edit and upload. So the gentleman's agreement is if you gathered any value at all from this video, I ask you to subscribe. Enjoy. All right, so we're going to be using two types of thinsets to bond the tile to the GoBoard sealant. We're going to be using Schluter's All Set, and we're going to be using Custom's Pro Light. So Schluter's All Set is a modified thinset that meets the ANSI standard 118.15. And it has a coarser aggregate, and then the Pro Light is a lightweight mortar thinset, or a thinset mortar that has a much finer aggregate. So the reason I'm doing this is so we don't have to rely on just the thinset itself, right? We have a sample size of more than one thinset. That way we can go ahead and blame the thinset for whatever results we get. All right. All right, so here we have the board. This has been drying for 48 hours. The sealant is completely dry. So what we have here is we have 3 applications of the Rapid Set Hybrid Saline. We have a lighter application. This is simulating like just a light coat to the point where there's still some of the fiber exposed from the GoBoard. And this is simulating thicker applications where you're covering the washer from a screw, where it's completely just the sealer. Then we have the same setup for the GoBoard, actual GoBoard sealant. So we have a lighter application where we still have some of the fibers from the GoBoard showing. You can feel them. And then the same 2 heavier applications where we're covering the washers and screws. Then as an extra, I've included 2 boards of of one each, the Rapid Set Hybrid Saline and the GoBoard, actual GoBoard sealer, where I've introduced just a row of fiberglass, mesh tape. The same thing that we would use for Durarock. And this is just as a possible solution to the bonding and adhesion of thinset. So I'm just going to see if this helps at all in comparison to the rest. So we're going to be using two types of tiles. We're going to be using ceramic, a softer ceramic, and a harder porcelain. And I wanted to use two different types so we dispel any myths about the tile absorption being a potential cause of lack of adhesion. All right, we're going to be using a 1/4 x 1/4 trowel. This is what I would use for an installation of tiles this size. And I have two different types of thinset. We're going to use thinset, both types of thinsets on both of the products. We have Schluter's All Set and we have Customs Pro Light. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with the Pro Light on one of the screw holes for each. We're going to go ahead and do the same for the GoBoard. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is we're going to back butter these tiles to give it the best chance at bonding. Normally, for subway tiles like this, I wouldn't back butter these tiles. But just when we are working in the most good faith possible, I'm going to back butter these tiles to ensure that it isn't anything installer related. So this is the Custom Pro Light thinset. Make sure we collapse all the ridges. All right. Same back buttering with the Custom Pro Light. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean this trowel off and so we don't cross-contaminate the thinsets. And we're then going to go ahead and use the All-Set thinset, the Schluter's All-Set thinset for the rest of the test. The reason I'm using more of the Schluter's All-Set is because it's the thinset that I use the most. I trust it a great deal and it cures faster than the Pro Light. So, I am partial to Schluter's All-Set. I do think it's a superior product, even though they meet the same ANSI standard, I believe. So I'll be right back and watch this one. All right, clean and dry trowel. 1/4 x 1/4, same. Now using the Schluter's All Set thinset. So, actually, before we do that, let me go ahead and clean the excess off the Pro Light, because I don't want to cross-contaminate any of it. So this is the lighter sealant application where you can still feel and see the fibers of the GoBoard. So I probably suspect that this will do the best. Again, back buttering the tiles, so normally not back buttering the regular install. Okay. I'm replacing the softer ceramic now. There we go. And we'll do the same thing for the GoBoard sealant. This is the GoBoard sealant's lighter application where you can still feel the fibers of the board. And like I said, I have the most faith in this one than all the others. Now we're going to be doing the potential remedies if, in case this were to not bond correctly, maybe this would be a potential remedy for the situation. Just adding a strip of fiberglass mesh to the sealer. That's just a hypothesis. All right, guys, so here we are. It's been 5 days since we installed the tiles on the GoBoard with the different types of thinsets on the 2 different types of sealers. And I'm going to be demoing it, right, to see what the adhesion was to the GoBoard sealer. I'm pretty optimistic. I think it's going to do pretty well, but let's get into it. Now, I'm going to do it one by one and see, because we have different types of amounts of sealer. We have on the side where we use the actual GoBoard sealer. I have a spot where we use a very light amount of sealer and 2 spots where we used an adequate amount of sealer. Same in the side where we use the rapid set hybrid saline sealer. And then, remember, we also have these 2 that were the ones that I installed a bit of mesh tape or fiberglass mesh tape on the sealer itself. I embedded it in there. I'm hoping that maybe it would adhere better. So let's get into it. Let's see what we have. First up, GoBoard, actual GoBoard sealer installed with all set thinset. And let's see what the adhesion is like. All right. That was a very light amount of force. Oh, wow. We had a good amount of coverage. I mean, it wasn't quite 100%, but definitely did not adhere at all to the sealer. I mean, the part that it was bonding to it was this part of the tile, which was bonding right there. But for the most part, this tile is dead slick. It has the same texture as the sealer, and I don't see any sealer stuck to it. Maybe just a little bit right there, but for the most part, it came right off. Those are not good signs. I mean, the sealer did separate from the board a tad bit, but that came off way too easy. Way too easy. All right, let's move over to the next one. This was installed with Pro Light Thinset. Let's see if this makes a difference at all. Wow. Literally no effort at all. This came right up. And as you can see, coverage was excellent. There was really good coverage. There's no reason this should be happening. This is a poor design, in my opinion. Even the fact that some of the metal of the washer was exposed, it gave it some texture. It wasn't just a sleek surface. Not even that was enough to bond it to the, mechanically bond the tile, right? And, there's no moisture in the thinset. I know they're not 100% cured, but, they're hard. They're really hard. They're not soft. We gave it 5 full days. So, all right. I imagine that out of all of these scenarios will do better. This is the side where we applied a small amount of GoBoard sealer. So if you can see there, you can see how the GoBoard sealer is thin enough to where the fibers of the board are still visible and you can feel them. So I think, if anything, those stand the best shot at adhering. So let's see if I'm right on that one. Okay, that feels better already. I can hear when I pry it ripping the actual GoBoard. Let's see if we can hear it. Wow. Okay, that's a better sign. All right, so as we can see, the sealer bonds very well to the board. It pulls up the first layer of felt, and you know, that's common on all these foam board backer materials. Now, you can see that the sealer itself doesn't stick very well to the thinset. So the only thing that was sticking this tile down was that bit of exposed GoBoard material. It was able to bond to that. But thinset to sealer bonding it's minimal. I mean, this scrapes right off. It's almost like it feels like scraping glue. And this was done with Schluter's All Set. Judging by this, the middle test, it leads me to believe that All Set seems to be a better thinset for this application than the ProLite. All right, so moving on to the side where we use the Rapid Set hybrid saline sealer as opposed to the actual GoBoard sealer. Let's see if that makes it worse or better. If it shows us anything different at all. It feels pretty good. Let's see what can we hear when we pry it up. That's in there. Let's hit it a couple more times. Okay. Oh, wow. That's very disappointing. So the only thing that was holding this tile was a mechanical bond with the washer that was protruding away from the sealer. None of the thinset stuck to the sealer. It's completely smooth. No bonding at all. Just like the first two tests that we had with the actual GoBoard sealer. All right, well, that was very underwhelming. I expected more when I felt the resistance. I mean, there is a little amount of bonding to the sealer because the sealer does pull up from the board, but nothing that will ever stop a tile from falling off 20 years later. This is not conducive to a lifetime tile installation. It just isn't. All right, moving on. This is the same test as this one, but using ProLite thinset. Let's see if that does better in this case, because in the other side with the GoBoard sealer, it did a little bit worse. Okay. Let's see what we have. Oh, wow. Again, same situation. We're having thinset that doesn't bond at all with the sealer. All the bonding is happening mechanically with that washer that's exposed. So if this was a seam in between boards, there wouldn't be anything to mechanically adhere to. And if one of your tiles, these subway tiles, let's say you were running a vertical stack and it landed just at a seam, like it happened to me in one of these jobs, literally in this job, it'll come off. And I had it come off when I was removing the spacers. It came right off, and I had to rebond it. So it's not looking good for this system so far. Of course, this is just one test. Maybe write in the comments what you think could have been better. What, if any, was the cause? Maybe I did something to cause a problem like this. I gave everything plenty of time to cure. Definitely more than some guys would wait to install tile in regards to the cure time of the sealer, and definitely more than what guys will wait to grout or to walk on a floor. Maybe walking is not the best, example, because this is only used on walls, but still, right? You'll grout some tile work after 48 hours. I gave the thinset 5 days to cure, and the sealer, we gave it 48 hours. So I don't think that's a worthy excuse in terms of time. The thinsets were, mixed to an appropriate consistency. They weren't diluted. And I don't see how I could apply the GoBoard sealer wrong. But if you have any thoughts, please put it in the comment section. Let's continue here. Again, this is the one where I have the most hopes on. This is a light coat. This particular one was actually very light. A light coat of the Rapid Set Hybrid Saline Sealer, where you have a lot of this fiberglass material from the board sticking out of the sealer. And I'm hopeful that the thinset bonds to that very well. So let's see what we have. Let me not lose one of these. Okay. There you go. And that's a lot more like it. I mean, that was hard. And you can see there that we have some bonding. Bonding of the thinset to the exposed fiberglass fibers from the board, right? And that was my hypothesis, that these were probably going to be the ones that do better. You can see all these fibers, these fiberglass fibers that are stuck. You can see them there, that are stuck to the thinset, and that's what's holding your tile. So I think that less is better when in terms of applying this sealer, but still is very underwhelming, because as tile installers, we would like things to be waterproof to an extreme degree, and it would be real easy to overdo it on the sealer, just to then find out the hard way that 7 years down the line, 10 years down the line, you have tiles falling off, or tiles that are loose or uncoupling. All right, let's test what to me was a potential solution to this problem. So I didn't want to only present the problem. I wanted to present the potential solution, and we'll find out together if it's viable or isn't. So this is the ones where we used a Durarock mesh tape embedded in the sealer layer. This is the GoBoard sealer brand, installed with all set thinset. All right, so this might be a little bit hard to hold and try to pry at the same time, but okay, got it under. Let's see what oh wow, that is, that wasn't that great either. We can see that there is some mechanical bond. You can see it by the checkering that's on the thinset, but not enough to create an adequate bond, in my opinion. That just wasn't it. So I guess that's not even a viable solution. Let's see how the Rapid Set Hybrid Saline Sealer does in this situation. Let me shift these aside. All right, got it on there. Let's pry. All right, so there I have quite a bit of bonding. I mean, that feels really good. That feels really good. You can see the amount of flex that's going on the board. You can see it's flexing a ton. That seems pretty good, but it's probably not good enough. I mean, if this was bonded directly to a piece of Durarock, you know, it would tear everything out. If this was bonded directly to a piece of Curdy board that was keyed in and troweled, you know, and embedded correctly, you know, it would be peeling the outer layer of the board, and it would take a lot more effort to peel it than it did to peel this. So this wasn't a viable solution. Maybe it added 10%, if that, to the bonding strength between the thinset and the sealant, but nothing to write home about. Nothing that's going to be the difference between tiles coming loose 20 years from now. I think this one was our winner. Well, this one came in second place. This was a very thin layer of GoBoard branded sealer. Total failure. The first test with the rapid set. This one was also a total failure. Second test with the rapid set using ProLite thinset. And then our first place was a super light coat of rapid set hybrid saline over the GoBoard while using all set thinset. You know, and these two perform very similarly, right? So these are definitely our winners, but that's nothing to do with the lack of sealers. What actually aided them in the bonding. And our potential solutions ended up being no solution at all. If maybe 10%, if that, and that's being very generous, was added to the bonding strength, in my opinion. You know, and again, I didn't have a machine pull it up. It was all by feel, but I'm not confident in this system, in this system's ability to bond with the thinset in these areas where the sealer was used. All right, guys. So what do we learn from this experiment, this test? For me, it was a great deal of information. I've been relying on this system a lot lately. I've been strictly installing GoBoard with the sealant. I do prefer the Rapid hybrid sealant over the GoBoard sealer. Why? Because it's cheaper, and I know for a fact it's 100% waterproof. I've done independent testing on that. I've seen videos on YouTube testing that product, and it's flawless. That's not to say that the GoBoard sealer doesn't perform just as good, but waterproof is waterproof, right? And if I get to the same point with two different products, but one is more expensive than the other, and they both bond very well to the medium we're using them on, I'm going to go for the cheaper product that performs the same. So that's why I've been more partial to the Rapid hybrid saline. Maybe the GoBoard sealer is the same. I haven't done enough research into the chemical composition of the GoBoard. I don't know if it's a hybrid saline sealer or some type of poly sealer. Regardless, both sealers proved to be ineffective in bonding to the thinset. Maybe in the future, GoBoard needs to produce some type of thinset that bonds with their product, with their sealer. But this all started when I had a plumber chip one of my tiles in a bathroom, and I had to demo that tile. Well, in the process of removing that tile, the prep was done with GoBoard, and everything was waterproofed with the
rapid set hybrid saline. In the process of, demoing those tiles, it was actually 2 tiles that got shipped. I noticed that the parts where the thinset was over the GoBoard sealer, they were coming right off. No issue at all. I mean, flakes of thinset just falling off. And that was really disheartening, right? So that led me to doing this test. And I have to say that I have to sit down and rethink what are some possible solutions for this. Because remember, tile work is generational. It's the most permanent medium in your household. Tile work, if done correctly, should last your lifetime. You should only have to change it if you want to change it for aesthetic purposes. But tile work that's done right shouldn't be changed out of necessity. It should last forever. With the technologies that we have in this day and age, the technologies in setting materials and substrates and all the different backer boards and waterproofing solutions, there's a system for every scenario, and there's no reason why the lifespan of installation should be getting shorter unless it's by design, right? Design from the manufacturers. I believe that tile work should be forever. And this is not conducive with that. And our mission statement is to do tile work that will stand the test of time. That's why our logo is a pyramid, because it's a representation of something that stood the test of time for thousands and thousands of years. And there's even debates about how old are they. But regardless, stonework, tile work have the potential to last thousands of years. Wood degrades, everything else degrades, but tile very rarely does. It erodes, but it doesn't degrade to the extent that everything else does. So I take the longevity of the tile work that we do. That longevity aspect for us is paramount. Waterproofing, preventing water damage, preventing mold and mildew growth are first for health purposes. And, we don't want to cause any damage. But longevity should be right up there with it. And this has proven not to be conducive to that. Maybe I'm wrong. At the end of the day, this is just the opinion of one guy that loves what I do. I love it. And I hope that if you love it too, this educates you and maybe helps you rethink, or maybe at least pushes you to perform your own test on this kind of stuff. We're installing this on people's homes, and you know how much time we spend on bathrooms, and people pay a lot of money to get this done. So make sure that what you're using, you trust it with your name and your livelihood, because it's going to be your name and your reputation that can get ruined for products that perform like this. All right. So if you have any comments, put them, any suggestions, any ideas, tell me what I did wrong, put it in the comment section. I hope this helps somebody out there. It sure helped me a great deal. And I love to see this kind of stuff. If you have any ideas, suggestions, put them down there. The one gentleman's agreement that we have on this channel is, if you gathered any value at all from this video, all I ask you is to subscribe, give us a like. You remember that it takes a considerable amount of effort to record, produce, and edit these videos. And the only way to repay that kindness is to subscribe. It's free for you to consume the video, and it's also free to subscribe. Don't be the guy that takes the cookie out of the jar without leaving the tip. We would just greatly appreciate it. Just be a man, subscribe, help us out, help us grow so we can continue to provide, value. Videos that not a lot of people are doing. I want to test every single thing that we've grown accustomed to using without knowing whether it's going to work. Very few of us have installations out there that are 50, 60 years old. Very few of us. So I want to make sure all of my installs get to that 60, 70, 80-year mark. I want to be able to be 70 years old and come back to one of the bathrooms that I've done and be in great shape. If the client, maintenance it. maintenance as well. But I want to be able to go back and look at installations that I've done, 50 years ago. Very few of us are able to do that. So doing this type of test to me is the only realistic way to get there. I don't have 20 years to wait just to see if what I did was wrong 20 years ago. So help us out so we can continue to do this. If you gathered any value, subscribe. All right, well, Frank from Left Up Tile Works, take pride in your work, and remember, tile is the most permanent medium in your home.
All right, guys, so here's an example of what I'm talking about. Just coincidentally, that just happened to me on the same job that I'm doing the test. And I spoke to this on the test. This tile, this was installed yesterday, and I understand that thinset wouldn't be cured 100%, but still, none of the other tiles are coming off. But one tile over the seam, magically, over the seam came off. And as you can see, the thinset didn't stick to it. The thinset is only sticking to this part. So in situations like this can be very dangerous. So I'm reinstalling the tile, but this is the problem with the GoBoard sealant.